What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. Vince Staples' sophomore album is on the way. It's coming real soon. How soon? Nobody knows. Def Jam has only said that the album will be on the way very soon. That's their exact words, is, real soon. So everybody's definition of soon is different. So it could arrive, I don't know, April, May. I would think May at the latest. If you're saying soon, and the fact that Vince is on his tour right now, and now we're getting a little bit more details about the album. The title is Big Fish Theory. The idea of the Big Fish Theory is that there's always a bigger fish. You think you caught a big fish, there's a bigger fish out there, and there's a bigger fish than that, and it just goes on infinitely. And so that's pretty much the basis of what the big fish theory is. So how does this come into play with Vince Staples and his music and where he's taking this album? Well, it's really hard to say. Unlike Summertime '06, where Vince Staples was pretty direct. He told you it was about his life in 2006, growing up in Long Beach. This album, he's a little more cryptic. During an interview with Vice magazine, the actual interview isn't printed online yet, but someone has a copy of the magazine and they pulled out the quotes. And so I was reading them and I was fascinated by what he was saying, because it's pretty straightforward how he words things, but it's also very confusing. So in the interview he says, as musicians, it's our job to explain. The way I understand music is by you having a stance on someone's music, you have a stance on their life, which has nothing to do with you, which is why no one should ever have a stance on musicians. Sit down somewhere and shut the fuck up. Yes, that is the exact quote, and it's the exact response that you would expect out of Vince Staples. He's always someone who doesn't want to be placed on a pedestal or anything like that. But the reason why I said earlier the quote is kind of confusing is because Vince acknowledges that as a human being, you're just going to have a stance on a musician. And I think with the quote, kind of breaking it down a little bit more, I think it depends on the artist. Sometimes you don't care about the artist's life. You just care about the music. 2 Chainz, for instance. I like 2 Chainz music. He's very dope. But I don't really care about anything going on in his personal life or what he does outside of music. Where it's Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper pretty much weaves his music and his personality and the stuff that he does. It's all one package, and that's why he's so big. Because people like how genuine he is. He just donated $1 million to Chicago schools. So you can't really separate Chance, his music, because music is positive, and then Chance as a person is positive, so you want to keep up with everything that he's doing. So the question remains is, how does the Big Fish Theory tie into Vince Staples' world? It's one question that doesn't have an answer, and I'm not going to attempt to try to figure it out. I think, if anything, my best guess would have to be that this album represents either the present or the future in Vince's life. Because Summertime '06 was about his life. Prima Donna, the EP, was... I think... I'm still trying to understand Prima Donna. And I think maybe that it was out there and I knew what it was about. But it's basically living out a career in just a short amount of time through the 7 or 8 songs that were on the EP. And so it really wasn't about Vince Staples directly, but I think this next album, Big Fish Theory, is going to be about it. One of my friends who writes, his name is Yo, he writes at DJ Booth, great person. He had a theory that this album could be comparing him to Kendrick, and how Kendrick did Good Kid, Mad City about his past, and then To Pimp a Butterfly about his present. And so Yo made that comparison that Vince Staples might take a similar route. Obviously not the same sound-wise or anything, because Vince and Kendrick don't sound alike at all. But I think it was an interesting idea, because it does seem like Vince might go in that direction. But how he ties the Big Fish Theory, the theory that there's always a bigger fish out there, how he ties that into his personal life or the concept that he wants to tell with this album, It remains to be seen. But I am very much fascinated to hear it. I'm looking forward to hearing more from Vince Staples in terms of like interviews. I'm hoping that at some point he sits down with more outlets before the album and kind of explains it, because the quote that he gave to Vice is interesting, but it doesn't really explain how the Big Fish theory comes into play, how that quote ties into the album. Like, you can have your little guesses and stuff, but I think I've explained as much as I can comprehend out of the information that I've been given. So those are just a few thoughts on what Vince Staples' Big Fish theory could be. Let me know what the album concept means to you so far. Judging off of the Vice quotes and the fact that we know what the Big Fish theory is, how do you think that will tie into Vince Staples' upcoming album? Tell me in the comment section below, then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.